this episode of the Weird Obscure World podcast.
I have been abducted.
Wait, what?
Their main forms they take are reptilian entities.
All right, we're recording.
How's the camera looking?
Camera looks good. I'm gonna get all kind of dizzy watching our show. There you go. You straightened her out. We're leaving Warm Springs right now, and as you can see, we are coming up on the Alien Highway. It's officially known as the Extraterrestrial Highway.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947, that a flying disc has been found. The biggest Who's It, What's It story of the year, the flying saucer.
You know, he's got to be all official.
Not the extra testicle.
Not the extra testicle. Although, some sad spelling, and let me tell you, you're not far from it.
Turn you up just a scotch. Talk some more?
Okay.
All right.
So we're on our way to Rachel. Looks like, as you can see, 59 miles to Rachel, Nevada. Rachel, Nevada is kind of the only stop on this particular stretch of highway. This highway is actually State Route 375. It's 98 miles long. So this highway runs 98 miles. Rachel's about 3/4 of the way down that. It's, as you can see, completely unoccupied desert terrain.
What?
Yeah, wait, there's cows. I lied.
Yeah, cows.
It's occupied by cattle, sagebrush, and...
I'm sure there's a lizard or 1,000.
Yeah, and maybe 1 or a million jackrabbits.
Wow.
This particular highway parallels the northern edge of Nellis Air Force Range. So Nellis Air Force Range is the actual name for the top secret Area 51 government base.
Ooh.
Cue the alien music. I don't know what alien music sounds like. You think it's like rave? Oh, you think it's like...
Bling, bling.
You think it's like techno?
No, it's X-Files.
Okay. We should ask The Simpsons what the alien music sounds like. They'll know.
Like Homer and Marge?
Like they're the writer of The Simpsons is the only one who actually knows anything.
Well, no. He doesn't know a lot. He has to ask Baron. Baron hops through time and tells him.
Okay. All right. So what they have actually out here at Nellis Air Force Base is compartmentalized different areas. So they have a testing range. They have a bombing range. They have a nuclear range that, quote unquote, does or may not exist. They also have a chemical weapons range, which again may or may not exist.
Yeah, well, as far as the official story with chemical weapons goes, right now the only thing the U.S. military does with chemical weapons is testing. They don't do any more. They do testing for defense. They don't do any testing for offense. Now, we have to mention we're on a shoestring traveling roadshow now, so the sound might be junk.
I'm hoping not.
Our camera is held on with one of them hair.
It's a scrunchie.
Hair scrunchies.
Yeah.
With Jared Guyver piecing stuff together.
Listen,
It might fall. It might not. We don't know.
It's holding on great.
Yeah.
So once a part of the base, this particular stretch of highway has changed throughout the years, and it used to have a lot of land around it that was considered public lands until a well-known whistleblower, Bob Lazar, made the headlines, and then the government did a big land grab and started really gobbling up the land around this particular piece of highway.
Oh, just partitioned it off, huh?
Yeah, so back in 1989, Bob Lazar comes forward with his story. Bob Lazar, or Robert Scott Lazar, is primarily known for his claims of being hired in the late 80s to reverse engineer extraterrestrial technology.
Ooh. And that was when you sing Rocket Man.
Wait.
Something, 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 something else. Ooh.
And he claims that that's why he was hired, is because he had actually built a rocket.
Now that he did do. And he put a rocket in a car.
Yeah.
And then he's put rockets on motorcycles and bicycles.
I saw his rocket bicycle.
Yeah.
That is
I
nuts.
imagine the rocket on his toilet would suck down the heftiest of Taco Bell nightmares.
So, among his claims, he also claims that he examined an antimatter reactor powered by Element 115.
Element 115.
So, Element 115, here's where the story about Bob Lazar gets, and we'll do an entire show on like the life of Bob Lazar because he's a super interesting guy.
Yeah, well, the hard part about doing the show on that is they've got that Amazon deal out. So I think when we do that, we should approach that from maybe Bob Lazar from the outside, just what we hear of him and
Sure.
and rumors. We should ham it up.
That's really all we would know anyway.
Like Bob Lazar lives on Mars, and
yeah.
and
Like he's
we'll
actually
talk,
a Martian.
We'll do 25 minutes on the rocket-powered toilet.
Just coming to a podcast near you. So, Bob Lazar, at his time at the base, said that this antimatter reactor was powered by an unsynthesized Element 115 that came with the craft and was stable. Now, everyone said that that's not possible, that element doesn't exist, hamana, blah, blah, blah. But actually in 2003, a group of scientists were actually able to find that this element actually does exist, which lends credence to his story.
Is this like the 115th element on the periodic table? Is that what it is?
Right. It's called Moscovium. And Bob Lazar claimed that it came with the aircraft.
You know, that to me that sounds like it's Scientology. This Element 115 David Maskovich.
Stop it. So its symbol is MC and its atomic number is 115. MC
Maskovich.
And it wasn't
Whoa.
MC Hammer. Stop it. Big old balloon pants. So it wasn't synthesized.
Speaking time. Whoa.
It wasn't synthesized until 2003, and in the synthesizing of this material, they can't get it right. Bob Lazar claims that this material is stable and that it's just a matter of neutrons, but found on Earth, it's very unstable, or synthesized, it's very unstable. And the reason this lends credence to him is you can't synthesize something that you don't have an example of. So it had to have come from somewhere, and it's not found on Earth. This is a brand new element added to the table.
Could it be something to do with because physics affects everything.
So
in some areas of outer space, metal is rain and liquid.
Yes. So the claim from Bob Lazar is that it was actually picked up in a nearby star system and arrived on the craft. Now, it could have arrived on a meteor, it could have arrived on a lot of things, but at any rate, they've tried to synthesize it, and they were able to do that, but it only has a half-life of 65 seconds, and it is extremely radioactive.
A half-life of 65 seconds, so that means 2 minutes, and then it's drained.
And that's it. So it's not able to do in its synthesized version what Bob Lazar claimed it could do. He claims to have done this work plus many other things at a secret site called S4. Now, S4 is also located in the Groom Lake area. So it's going to be just to the left of what you guys are seeing on the camera.
To the left.
To the left of what you're seeing on the camera. That's the outer edge. Those mountains that you see over there, no, you probably can't see them.
You saw them a minute ago.
That's the outer edge of the Groom Lake area. So Groom Lake is a dry lake bed, so it makes perfect for testing and, creating landing spaces and long runways. But he claims that he worked inside an area called S4, which is located several kilometers south of the actual Area 51. So within this big government installation, it's kind of, like I said, compartmentalized. There's a bunch of different areas. And several kilometers south of Area 51 is what he calls S4. Again, the government denied this place's existence. It is built into a mountain, and there are hangar doors on the front of it. Now, when Google Earth first started taking satellite images, they had some splaining to do, Lucy.
Oh, yeah?
Because you can see...
They accidentally left the saucer out front. No. It's a spa. Yeah, it's a spa. A swim spa. No. It's a hot tub. No. Seriously, it's a hubcap from a monster truck we're building. No, seriously.
So the hangar doors are clearly visible, built into the side of this mountain, and it's actually almost exactly where Bob Lazar said it was. So, again,
well, there's
lending
a lot of
more
things.
credence to the fact, or to the idea that he may have worked there.
Yeah, and he talked about some early gen biometric scanner.
With the hand.
Yeah, your hand scanner, where it measured the length of the digits, not like looked at your fingerprint or anything.
And then they actually found one.
And then they found one.
That had been used out there.
Yep.
Even though everyone said, no, that's clearly made up.
The crazy thing about the story with Bob Lazar is he's got this, I went to college here. He's got lots of people saying, yeah, we'd drop him off there, or we'd see him there, or whatever. And then the college says, he never went here.
So,
but his name's on some of the college records.
And he has pictures of his graduation.
Yep. And then you've got EG&G, who ran S4.
Yep, they did the government contract.
He was never here. He was, no.
But he's in their phone book.
Yeah, and the government is notorious for being horrible at wiping themselves clean. See, when the government's done using the bathroom, they always leave a little speckle of matter behind and some little shreds of toilet paper. Every time. We found that out with the Midnight Climax and all that.
That was not speckles of toilet paper. They left entire unopened packages.
Okay, so that was the poor lady at the fancy restaurant coming out in her nicest high heels, trailing a toilet paper tail. But still, that's the government's terrible. I mean, let's face it. Most of the time, government employees can't make it in a competitive market, so they go into the government where they don't have competition. And it's not they start out lesser, but without competition, you don't hone your skills. You get lazy.
Yeah, good healthy competition. So his claims had created this frenzy, and by 1990, he was a headline story. Everybody was talking about him.
We just drove by 3 crosses. I imagine they died
crosses.
from suction cup fingers. Suction cup fingers.
That clearly happened out here.
Remember your Kegels, folks.
Yes. Hey, this is the captain, by the way. I think we should just start calling you that.
Captain Kegel?
Captain Kegel. He's wearing a hat that he created. He's super crafty. And it actually says Captain Kegel Uranus Defense Force.
Yep, the Uranus Defense Force.
Yeah. So what happened by 1990 was this huge frenzy. Everybody wanted to know what's happening out at Area 51. Now we have to remember that there have been many times throughout history that the government has, I don't know, hidden stuff. A little.
I
May
can
have-
only think of 2 or 3.
Maybe have told a slight fib for the sake of the safety of the people.
They're
clearly.
protecting us.
They really are doing a humanitarian thing.
That's right.
So everyone
We do
went
all this
nuts.
for you.
Yes. Well, the government, what they wanted to do, it's kind of it seems like a kitschy ploy, but it plays well into their cover-up. They wanted to capitalize on this, and that's when they named, right after Bob Lazar came out, almost like a slap in the face, they named this highway the extraterrestrial highway.
Yeah.
Now, one of the reasons they did that was because, as you'll see in the video as we get closer, there's a set of mailboxes on this highway. And one of them says Steve Medlin. He's the rancher.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Bob Lazar, when he came out with his story, he told his friends first. And he was like, listen, this is what I seen out there. If they're going to get rid of me, apparently he had heard some things that they were trying to get rid of me. He was like,
Well, I think the story goes back. I'm shooting from the hip here. But he was up for a re-up on a security clearance. And his wife had an affair.
there was some...
So there was some questions on whether he could clear his security clearance. So they started following him and his wife around. Well, it scared his wife and pushed them further away, which he desperately wanted to keep his wife. So that's when a nervousness came about him. He didn't understand that they were following her around for the affair. They just... I'm shooting from the hip again. They just... and I don't even know if she had an affair. There was a question of it. And so they just... Him and his wife just knew that they were being followed by G-men, by the men in black.
That's right.
And so they... there was a nervousness, and that caused him to kind of express himself and explain stuff as a layer of protection.
So he brings his friends out, his group of buddies, to this black mailbox because he says that this is where they'll be able to see these test flights. He says that they have these test flights at this exact time, and this is a good vantage point. It's really out in the middle of nowhere. He brings them out here, and every one of the 5 people he brought out here went on record stating that they in fact saw something maneuvering about the sky that was maneuvering in a way that was similar to, say, a laser light, where there wasn't any kind of impact from gravity or inertia or anything like that that would keep it from making these complete right-hand turns and falling and climbing and such. Every one of them went on record saying yes, and they actually have a video of this. You can watch it online if you just go to like Bob Lazar, video leak, whatever. So 20th Century Fox then catches on and they release Independence Day. What this does is thrust Rachel, Nevada, which we're headed to now, into the headlines. And
That's where the last stand was made?
yes.
Where he got up on the Humvee and made the speech?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
And one of the old police officers in our from our hometown growing up, tiny town, a speck of ant shit. He was in that movie. You could see him there, hold the submachine gun, yelling out.
So what that did is brought a lot of alien hunters out this way. That movie sparked an interest in both the legitimacy of Area 51 and the fact that you could drive to it. So Steve Medlin actually started getting mail in his black mailbox, all of these piles and piles of mail. So he created a second mailbox, And he has his original mailbox, which from what I understand now has been stolen numerous times, taken down, replaced, on and on. This poor guy, he's just a rancher out here. But he's created a second mailbox that says alien. So now, again, it's padlocked or whatever, but he reports to the news crews and everyone that people come out and just leave dollar bills in there. They pay homage to the aliens.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Yeah. Like, what is an alien going to do with a dollar bill? I don't know. So, this became the popular meeting spot because Bob Lazar came out and said this is where he brought people to see this.
Now, we haven't been down this road yet today. It looks like we got a grouping up here just on the right. Pickup trucks, they almost look like they might be official because of the color patterns on them. But we'll see.
And what we've heard, well, we've heard a couple of things. There's been some talk on the radio. The DJs are saying, turn back. They're not having it. Don't go out there. Take your kids somewhere else. Find something else to do. We do have relatives in law enforcement and they're checking. It looks like there's a couple of police officers checking some.
Sheriff. Unless they're out on a search and rescue. Oh, yeah.
It's hard to say. But they have brought in an extra 150 deputies from around the state of Nevada to help support this event because Lincoln County, where it will be held, has basically said, listen, if more than 40,000 people show up, it's a national state of emergency. Like, it becomes a really big deal if that many people show up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So what we're going to talk about now is things that have happened. I picked the top 3 extraterrestrial accounts of contact that have happened on this highway.
Top 3.
Top 3. Now, 2 of them go back from before Bob Lazar ever came forward.
Ooh.
The earliest one that I could find that was like not just because there have been thousands and thousands of accounts of lights in the sky, and they call it fire in the sky because of the way that the heat rises up off of this mountain range. It actually distorts any lights in the sky and makes them kind of look like fire.
Yeah, this is as you can see on the video, beautiful country. If you're a fan of desert vistas, this is one of the best you'll see. There's splattering of ranches. You got antelope running wild. You got cattle. Crows, of course, they're everywhere.
Lots of crows.
And it's beautiful. But this place is like every other desert. Between day and night, the temperature shifts are vast.
Right.
So a lot of bleed off from the earth on a cold night.
So there have been thousands and thousands of accounts of lights and lights doing maneuvers that don't make sense. At least not maneuvers that make sense to us. But there have also been a couple of accounts of like close encounters. The earliest one I could find of a close encounter was a guy named Alexander. Now, Alexander, an Air Forceman, had been stationed at Nellis Air Force Base, and he and his wife had been staying near the base. It was a common thing for them to stay 3 weeks on, 1 week off. 3 weeks on.
Yeah, because they're out in the middle of nowhere.
Because it's really a flight from Vegas to get in there.
They probably have some kind of hotel accommodations or something in Vegas, and that's where their actual home is.
Right.
But then they do 3 weeks. You know, the Air Force has a lot of stations that are out in the middle of nowhere that do that.
So he claims that although he had never heard any of the buzzing about having alien technology or extraterrestrial technology at the base, that he had heard about many accounts coming to and from the base of lights in the sky and encounters and things. He was a true skeptic. As a matter of fact, even after this happened, he didn't even want to tell his wife. He goes on to say that he went and talked to his pastor because he thought he's losing his mind. He was driving down this very stretch of road. Back then it would have been part of the base.
Yeah.
It was just a road in and out,
Like a through road that was probably public. Just marked.
Right. It was public, and there used to be gates. So you would have to go through the gates and get ID checked and such. But he was on this very stretch of road. He said it was just before dark, or just before dusk. Fully awake. He, hadn't run a long shift or anything. Like he said, he was just getting to the point where it was his 1 week off and they were headed back. When he could see come from over the mountain range to his left, he's heading the direction we are, he could see an aircraft come into his peripheral view. Now, because he's in the Air Force, he knows they don't fly over this highway. They actually fly out above Groom Lake because most of the testing needs to be done out of public view.
Well, that, and also the reason the testing of Air Force bombs or aircraft with hot munitions will try to stay out of the sight of where civilians might be is if there's an accident, that turns real ugly if it hurts civilians.
So although he was really used to seeing different aircraft, he said it caught his attention, so he actually slowed down and focused his eyes on it. The thing flew in, he said, at speeds he could not make sense of. He had seen really extremely fast, extremely technologically advanced at that time aircraft, and he said this thing flew just extremely fast. So it flew in and it actually came right into his line of view, almost an intentional stop. It was just beyond where his headlights, because he had just turned them on, just beyond where his headlights could reach. He figured maybe 100 feet max when it touched down. So he...
And it landed?
It actually landed. So he locked up the brakes, and he said that it didn't... there was no lights. It was 100% all one color. It dropped down out of the sky much like a helicopter, but there was no... He could not sense any way for this mechanically to have thrust. It wasn't moving the dirt, and he said it was a huge aircraft, probably 52, 53 feet wide.
Oh.
And it wasn't disturbing anything on the ground.
Did he throw it in reverse? Get out of there?
No, he said he just sat there thinking, I probably shouldn't be seeing this.
And waited for it?
What am I seeing? And he said it felt like forever, but it was probably only 3 or 4 seconds when it lifted up and then out of his view.
You know why?
That fast.
Because the alien's like, all right, we got him. Hand me the neoprene gloves. Oh, we forgot him? I told you to go through the checklist. I told you.
It was your job.
I'm sorry. I was looking at the flux capacitor and... all right, better luck next time.
But he said that, again, without any mechanism of thrust, it lifted off, and then as fast as it came in, it left. And it left such a feeling of, I guess he was just fear. It's one of those things that you don't understand, you're generally afraid of. And he said to the day that he told his story publicly, which he did in a forum. He didn't go to the news. He didn't, because he always just felt like people are gonna think I'm crazy.
50 feet wide is substantial.
That's big. I mean, it would take an awful lot of thrust to move it that fast and lift it up and to maneuver it the way that he claims that it maneuvered. The second one was in 1981. A guy named Steve. He said it was winter. These roads out here don't get a lot of snow, But it was winter. It was a little chilly out here. It was really late at night. He happened to be traveling this stretch of highway just on a whim. You know, he's just kind of tootling around, ended up out here in the middle of the night and thought, I'm going to make it to Rachel. There's a little inn in Rachel, and I'm going to see if they've got a room. He said that as he's driving along, as you can see, there's nothing out here. There's no light poles. So on a really dark night, it would be really dark out here. He said he never saw what it was, but in both of his side mirrors, it was like the lights had been turned on. There was something right above his truck keeping pace with him.
And just spotlighting down on him?
And its lights were creating this super bright area at the bed of his pickup truck. He said he looked in his rearview mirror, he looked in his side mirrors, and he couldn't see anything.
Oh, man.
So he just kept going, thinking this is a strange phenomenon, and it followed him. He said for
just
probably...
white knuckle, pucker factor 14, just, oh!
He said it followed him for about a mile, and then he thought, I'm going to distract myself. I'm just going to distract myself, and he tried to turn on his radio, and his radio wouldn't come on. It wouldn't come on. And so he just kept driving. Like, he thought, what am I going to do?
So it's disrupting electronics.
It's definitely... Well, he didn't think it was at the time. I don't think he made the connection
In
at
a
the
modern
time.
car, it'd shut the whole car down.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah, this
fail-safes
was-
that keep them running. In an old car...
Yeah, this was in 81, so he probably would have been driving an older car that's not all computer
Well, back
driven.
then, wasn't... Heck, I think 89 was the first generation of OBD1 came out in GM, so yeah, there was no brains earlier than that.
So he said that basically out of fear, he didn't pull over to see what it was. He basically just said, I'm not stupid.
No,
He just kept driving and thought, if
No.
this thing catches
He's like,
me, then it catches me.
I'm 3 weeks out from my latest Kegels. They might, I may not be able to stop it.
So he said it was about a mile
I don't want to have to explain that to my family.
when he looked in the side mirrors and it just slowly got dark again.
It backed off or
It just
lifted
went
up or-
somewhere else. It lifted off, went somewhere else, and right then his radio came on.
Yep.
He also said he's never driven this highway again. It really, really left an
Shocking.
impression.
Yeah.
And then a little more recent, 1993, there was an entire family. They claim that they were driving out here when they noticed the fire in the sky phenomenon. And the dad says, I really am into physics, and I understand that particular phenomenon is kind of like the aurora borealis. It's something that we can't always explain why it does what it does, but it has to do with the heat rising up off of the desert floor. So he pulled over with his family, and they were watching it. As they're stopped, and he said they were probably a mile from the black box. They were going on a trip now because it's this big thing. They were going to come out here and check it out.
So their goal
right after,
was to come out this way.
Right. This is right after the Bob Lazar story broke.
They were one of the tourists.
Right. So they pull over, and out of the corner of his daughter's eye, she notices something. If you look around, there's not very many things that are tall out here.
Well, there's mountains in the distance, but
All the sage is
Yeah.
a couple feet or
there's
smaller.
no foliage. There's no...
His
flora.
daughter starts screaming that she sees something, or she saw something. And he's like, well, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Right at the time as they're watching these kind of lights, his daughter sees out of her peripheral vision, from what I understand at the time she was about 13, she sees something really large moving through the brush and freaks out. So he's talking to her, calming her down.
Like something walking?
She doesn't say, just that something's out there.
Like the Squatch?
Well, he's talking to her, calming her down, when he looks up and there's 2 agents standing there.
2 men in black?
He didn't say men in black. They didn't have men in black back then. He said 2 agents standing there, and they startled him when he looked back up because they had come right up on them.
Oh.
And they said, "Sir, what are you doing stopped here?" And he said, "Well, isn't this the extraterrestrial highway? Like, we're just checking out these lights." To which they said, "There are no lights. Get in your vehicle."
Look into my pen.
Yeah.
The backstory is what you saw was fireflies. I know they're not normal to this area, but you saw fireflies. They were escaped fireflies from a secret firefly
He
company.
said that this startled him so much that he was convinced that these people couldn't possibly be actual government officials. And he went directly to the sheriff, the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office, and was like, there are 2 people out there on a public highway harassing people to leave. He says, I don't know what they ever did about it, but these guys showed up literally. He said, if you've ever been out there, it's not like they just walked from a close by building.
From what I've read, Nick Redfern is probably the one I've read the most of on the Men in Black, and the synopsis is on that, even kind of a historical synopsis, is that the Men in Black are, some people think they're demons, some people think they're angels, some people, but there's a common trope that they are otherworldly beings. They are not of this earth, and they're weird. They don't have any compunction, and they're not polite. They're bad tippers. They
don't wash their hands
they put
after
their
they
shoes
use the
on the wrong
restroom.
thing. Yes. They
put their toilet paper the wrong way.
They shake 3 or 4 too many times. I mean, just the Men in Black aren't. They're not human. They have no compassion that rides with humanity or any of that. They're real blunt and kind of lame. So,
and that would go along with this guy's story because they upset him to the point that he literally put his family in the car and was like, listen, I don't need this. And drove right to the sheriff's department to make a complaint that they needed to come out here and find these 2 men. Now, he did say that the sheriff was like, you saw them where? Like, what vehicle were they in? And he said they weren't in a vehicle. Well, where did they come from? Because as you can see on the video, we've now been driving for 37 minutes down this highway. There ain't nothing.
yeah, there's a couple ranches back on the left, on the north side of the road, back behind us. But that's about it. I think we've passed 3 ranches.
And this particular highway, as of last year, now this year it may be a little different, I guess we'll find out, but as of last year, had an average of 200 cars per day that travel this highway.
Huh.
So it's unlikely that somebody would just be wandering around out here.
There's not a lot. I mean, unless somewhere behind us there's some industrial. Well, there's
underground
that
garage.
back behind us. There's that refinery. So maybe
Yeah, perhaps.
maybe that occupies a lot. And there's also the state road, the roadworks guys back there, the NDOT.
So Area 51, we're going to keep you guys updated. We'll do some recordings as we get into Rachel. You guys will see here in just a second, we're going to be coming up on the black box.
Yep.
We'll do some recordings of the black box to include in this. And looks like we've got 20 more miles to Rachel.
Yeah, we're not going to make you guys hang on the whole time. We're going to clip the super fun parts out of this.
Yeah, so we'll see you back in about 20 miles.
Yep.
We're at the Little Alien, Rachel, Nevada. As you can see, this used to be a field right next to it. They They've leveled it. Just beyond my car and Jared's truck. They've leveled the field and the one on the other side, the east side of the little alien, and they're out there chalking out lines for people. Those are rentals. This place is never going to be the same. We are at just the beginning of this, just barely starting to see the uptick in people. Okay, and we're back. Stopped by the little alien. Got some video. I'm going to splice in just before this. You will have just watched that.
She
And-
videoed while I purchased tequila.
That's right. The important things. He was buying alien tequila. I was manning the podcast.
Yeah,
For a guy who doesn't even drink.
I know. I'll drink beer, but
But we actually came across the black mailbox. It's still here.
yeah, there's some people camped out at it.
Looks, and we almost missed it because it's such a wayward point that everybody
And
stops there.
It's hidden
So
behind
just pull right in front of it so
Yeah.
that the
So I'm gonna
viewers
do
can see it.
a scan of. There's a little car with a flying saucer drawn on the side. It's a smart car with a smart flying saucer.
That's right. Smart saucer.
Okay.
And then there it is.
There. Now that's the mailbox. Now if you look at it, there's a storm. It's stickered up, but there's like a advertisement for this festivity.
For this event. And what people commonly do, like we mentioned, is, it looks like the alien one got stolen.
Oh.
See the little empty spot?
Yeah.
So this big mailbox belongs to Steve
Well,
Meldon. That's the
think-
rancher.
No, I think that's the alien one because it says no U.S. mail on it.
Oh, so maybe he took his down.
Yeah, and
And this is the alien
he may have
box.
moved on or got a post office box or something.
Yeah, there's no post office out here.
Yeah, but there's one in somewhere. We'll drive to it. But yeah.
So this is the black mailbox in the middle of nowhere that people leave money for the aliens.
Yeah, a lot of cool. But look, there's the Storm Area 51. That's the event. I don't know if you can read it on the camera. Can you see it on the camera?
It's a little hot from the sun, but yeah, that's the event that's taking place. It says Storm Area 51. They can't stop all of us.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's it right there. There it is. All right, we got more show coming up. We'll
This
shut
is
off.
this is the next stop.
Yeah.
And then we'll come back at you at the next one.
To the research center.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, we're back.
Yeah. So we're pulling up to the Alien Research Center in Hyco, Nevada.
Yeah, this is the other place that is going to be having a festival. One is considered like a music festival. This one, they're touting it as being for serious alien hunters festival. Mhm, yeah.
My good man. But you'll see it pop up on the camera here in just a second
Yeah.
as we
It's,
turn into it.
God, I think that's the.
It's pretty cool. Pretty impressive.
That's a giant alien. You
Yeah.
see that on the building?
Big metal alien.
Oh, that's
Let's
scary.
get it on camera for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Let's
Those,
see.
one of those fingers would do a number on the guy. I don't know.
So we're going to check this out. They also are gearing up.
Oh, the CW is out here.
Yeah, we've got tons of news stations
Yeah.
that are just camped out here. As you can see, all of their vehicles.
Wonder where we park at.
This is the stage setup that you're seeing here. I would just park right over here by this fence because,
Okay.
whatever.
Yeah.
But we're going to go in and check this out.
Yep. And if we find anything of of news, we will,
We'll record it.
yeah, we'll pop in another recording.
Yeah.
All right. There we see a whole bunch of cars heading to and fro from the gate. All the dust kicked up out there. Sun's going down right there. Someone blazing the trail across. Oh yeah. Yep, lots of cars there. They come off the road right over here. We're just south of Rachel. There's the truck, that's it, and there's the road. Sound over it.
Okay, as you can see, we are now coming up on the event at the Little Alien,
Rachel, Nevada.
Rachel, Nevada. I'm going to just record as we come in. There's a big police presence.
Yeah.
This town of Rachel has about 80 or less in population throughout the year, so this is a pretty big deal for them. Lots and lots of police presence.
Just camping right out there.
Yeah, she filled up her lots, as you can see over here. Well, the sun's right in the way. We're going to try to get out and get some interviews, find out where these people are from. Are they alien enthusiasts? She filled her lots.
Yes, she did. Try to find a place to park. I wonder if we can just park on the side.
This is a much larger event than what's down the road. As you can see, people are just camped out, hanging out.
Park?
Yeah, let's just try to park and
Okay.
let's visit with some folks.
All right.
Let's wander around, hand out some cards, see what's up.
This awesome machine. Yeah. That's awesome. Hey, we've got a game of beer pong for the gods. Basketball in the garbage cans. Let's see how we do. Oh, rained it out. All right, let's see the guy in the purple. Oh. Oh. That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, here we are. Now, there we go. Have no clue who any of these bands are.
reply.